Well, hello, Panther Nation. Welcome to another episode on the Panther Comms podcast. I'm your host, Timmy VO. You know, we've been talking a lot as in Panther Nation, have been talking a lot about Sam and all this other good stuff. And, he's been relatively quiet for a while until that episode where he was on Bussin. That's a pretty good podcast. You guys have to check them out. That's really good. But I saw Sam in a way I don't think many of us have seen Sam. He was very comfortable. He was very comfortable in that interview. And we're going to talk about that. And Sam in general. And how Mr. Darnold, and this is not a knock on Sam personally, he seems to be a really good kid. That's why Sam is like a yo mama joke from back in the day. When you got nothing else better to say, you can't. You really they just jones you up, and you got nothing else left. Your mama. Well, that's what Sam is. He's the Carolina Panthers' your mama retort. Just saying.
Keep your comms up.
The Panther Comms podcast with Timmy VO.
Hello, Panther fans. So we're talking about episode number 8 and Mr. Darnold, your mama. So if you didn't see the interview with Sam, it was all over Twitter and Facebook and all the Panther groups and all the good stuff. Sam had a very laid back interview. Went all the way back to his roots and Capistrano Beach out in California. He grew up as a USC fan, big Trojan fan, and of course, many of you know that's where he went and played his ball. But he talked a lot more than just football in that interview, and his body language was showing some things, and it was very interesting. And so I'm going to touch on a couple of key points on Sam and quite frankly why he's going to be our your mama joke, because he's starting day one, folks. Unless he's not on this team, he's starting day one. But your mama. But look, in that interview, and I suggest you go look at it. Is called Bussin, the Bussin Up, I believe, podcast. It's in a bus. It's all cool, man. It's a great layout. They did a great production job with that. But it seemed to me Sam was not very confident when he talked about the game of football, right? He came up as I think they try to look at him as a linebacker at some point in time in college, and things of that nature. But some players, they're drawn to a particular position in the game of football. That's just who they are. Tom Brady is a quarterback. He's a quarterback. That type of situation. Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback in college. Quarterback. Even some of the guys who were quarterback all through and didn't make it. You can think a couple that used to play for the Panthers, matter of fact. Clawson. Anyway, but Sam Darnold didn't, he wasn't really groomed to be a quarterback. He wasn't a quarterback's quarterback. He himself mentioned how the coaches at USC had some packages for him his freshman year where he could, like a goal line thing, like they did with Cam when he came back here. It's kind of funny. I find that very funny. So he didn't seem very confident as a quarterback, talking about being a QB. It was very interesting, I think, and that also kind of tells me that it translates to how he was a leader or the lack thereof in the locker room. His demeanor is very calm. He's very very calm, collective, and quite frankly, I think that has something to do with his upbringing. He came from a pretty comfortable position in terms of society. So. If you don't believe me, I got a tab up of Capistrano Beach, and if you know anything about California real estate, buddy. Matter of fact, let me show you something real quick. So this is where one Sam Darnold is from. And I really didn't think about diving into things like that on this guy, considering we didn't draft him like that. So I was like, okay, whatever. But he's from, again, Capistrano Beach. I used to live in San Diego way back in the day, and I can tell you for a fact, folks, you don't live in these areas unless you're doing well for yourself, so to say. Now, again, this is not a knock on Sam as a person. I'm just thinking about, and it shows. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about his awareness to kind of go the extra little 20-30%. You know what I'm saying, that motivation. Now he's a competitor. Don't get me wrong, but there's something about him that like that draws people to get better, to get behind him, and he doesn't seem like that kind of guy. And that interview showed me something. But I'm sharing on the screen here. Capistrano Beach. I didn't do the medium income. I don't want to get into his finance or anything like that. But just going off of what the description is, Capistrano Beach is a lesser-known, peaceful, and low-key Orange County beach destination to enjoy beach bonfires, barbecues, bike rentals, water sports. Right, so it's kind of like a vacation spot. It's a hidden gem nestled between San Clemente and Dana Point, bordered by San Clemente Beach to the south and Doheny State Beach to the north. Right, so he's a coastal kid. If you listen to that interview, I can't count how many times that kid said like, like. Dude, it's funny though, man. Some good people in California, and again, this is not a knock on Sam as a person. It just tells me that his background, just as a person, he's not necessarily from the hard knocks, man, and that carries over to one's persona in a lot of cases. I'm just saying. But that's going to be QB1 day one. Your mom. Moving on. So he seemed very nonchalant in his interview. But and again, he doesn't have that it factor. He's not a leader. Like and again, you don't have to be a raw kind of thing. And he has a great demeanor in terms of his, just being, again, calm, collective, whatever. But he also kind of gives off that I don't give a fuck gene. It's just like whatever. Okay, all right. He mentioned a story when Harbaugh went to Michigan, and he got a phone call from Harbaugh. And and I respect him, one, because he already signed with USC, and he told Coach, I already committed, and this, that, and the third, and he redshirted his freshman year. He could have went to Michigan and probably started his freshman year, but more of the story in that situation was Harbaugh called him, and he was kind of like, and I find that funny. He doesn't seem to be that guy. But again, that's your QB1 day one. Your mama. I don't care what you say. I don't care about these stats I'm about to show you from Sam. I don't care. Your mama. So now let's look at the stats real quick. So as you can see, starting in 2018, he was drafted 2018, obviously. Third overall, I believe. I mean, that's... Well, Tim Couch got drafted number 1. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. So he went to the Jets, right? And I'll explain why I'm bringing this up again. 57%, 57% or 57.7 completion percentage. Next year, so 61.9. Next year, 59.6. And then we give up 2 picks and any type of growth, possibility of growth for this man, right? I'm not quite sure. It seems to me after his 2019 season, maybe the Panthers should have got him after his 2019 season, because his 2020 season was horrible, and we still got this guy, and he went down a point on his QB rating almost. It is amazing that Tepper talks about statistics and analysts and analyzing statistical information, and this is your guy. Your mama. Moving on. but nothing. Your mama. Man, we talking about my mama. Anyway, so I'm gonna stop that. So before I wrap this up, man, I just wanted to explain myself and why Sam Darnold is the ultimate your mama joke because I mean, now you're fighting. That's your QB1, folks. Unless he's not on this team, that's your QB1. I don't care who we draft. They will not be able to practice as well as one Sam Darnold. And the guy and the kid makes you feel good. He makes you feel comfortable. Even though he says like 1,000 times like yeah, But but before I let you go, let me drop a little something on you. This is from Twitter by one Warren Sharp, and he pulled up a statistic on Sam Darnold, your mama, and this individual for the last 3 seasons, okay, has been the least efficient non-rookie when trailing in a football game. The least efficient. The least. That means there were 31 quarterbacks more efficient than this man for 3 years straight. This is your QB1. This is your QB1, ladies and gentlemen. Your mama. Your mama. I have lost all confidence in David Tepper. I know he's ultra multi-billionaire or whatever. But bruh, money don't make a man. You're horrible. Your decision-making process and those who you listen to in terms of understanding the game of football and putting the right people in place, terrible. You have a your mama joke as your QB1 on a roster with Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. Potentially a future all-star left tackle coming on board. This team could be so much further ahead if you would just gotten a young coordinator or maybe a former defensive coach, defensive coordinator coach. Somebody from a Super Bowl winning team. I don't know about you, Panther fans, but quite frankly, I'm really disappointed. And if I don't have such a history with this team, I seriously think about stop spending money on this team. But that's my Panthers, man. That's my Panthers. And there's so much hope. If you just look at the roster, there's hope. You can't deny that. If Christian McCaffrey, and you can still say if Christian I'm sorry, you can say that. You can say that. If Christian McCaffrey can play a full season, dinged up, okay, fine. You might miss a practice or whatever, but if he can play a full season, DJ Moore can continue to do what he does, which is get 1,000 yards plus receiving each year with a different quarterback, basically. I hate that we're using got another player, folks, that probably not going to win big time with because we don't have the right pieces around them. But anyway, if we can have DJ doing what he normally does, and that defense can come together, we're a quarterback away. And I'm extremely disappointed that this man who came from the Steelers ilk is potentially running this team in terms of player personnel into the ground. Now I'm not gonna get into the Rock Hill situation. I'm not gonna step outside of what I know. What I know is just the basics, I guess you can say, and then I bring things to light. But I understand the fact that, there are two sides to each story, and obviously, there's money involved. People do things, say things. But when it comes to our football team, and there are coaches floating around in amongst the NFL, outside of college, floating around in the NFL that can get it done, that can motivate players, that players speak highly of, and already have a high level of appreciation and respect for, and you don't pull that individual to your team to lead your team. That worries me. Sam Darnold's not hungry. He's comfortable. He's very comfortable. He's so comfortable he can sit there in an interview with this man and tell the people watching that podcast or watching that interview that he's good enough, that he has proven it. He's proved that he's a good quarterback in this league. You wait right there. I'm sorry. What was that, Sam? You're a good what? How? He's a very nonchalant kind of guy, and again, that type of demeanor is great in situations because you tend to calm people down around you, and that's great. That's great. He has a positive attitude about him that goes a long way. It does, but it doesn't go far enough. When your skill set doesn't attach itself to the demeanor. If you're cool, calm, and collected because you're a badass, you can get it done. And you can finish the season with, at least a 63% in passing. Okay, yeah. Son, used over 60% one time in your career as an NFL player. And you had 13 interceptions that year, and only 19 touchdowns. You broke the 3,000 yard mark, which was good. But come on, bud. This is your QB1, ladies and gentlemen. And he's good enough. Now, you can't really take the Panthers statistic into consideration, considering he missed quite a few games. But based off of what he was doing before he got hurt and what he did when he got back, it's something else, man. It's something else. And again, we are talking about the least efficient non-rookie quarterback when trailing in a football game for 3 years running. Your mama. Hey, wow, your mama. Now, Panther fans, y'all take it easy out there now, and I appreciate you guys coming by and listening or downloading and all that good stuff to the Panther Comms podcast. I'll have some guests on here pretty soon. My main man Kevin Avery with the 4-Man Rush, and some other individuals around the Panther channels and the Panthers world. Of course, we'll talk about the draft when that comes along, all that good stuff. I'll have a special. So I have a Panther Comms live draft edition. Getting close to the draft, so you guys are really going to want to listen and check in and get your comms up, okay? Hey, appreciate you guys dropping by. And don't worry about your mama joke. It is what it is. Hopefully, going forward, Fitterer, who's made some great moves, Fitterer get it right, and we'll be on the right path, right? Right on. Hey, you guys take care of yourself. And as always, keep pounding. Peace. Good enough. Seriously. Good enough. Like, for real.
Get your comms up.
The Panther Comms Podcast with Timmy VO.